Are financial worries keeping you up at night? Is your financial situation causing you stress? Imagine transforming that anxiety into confidence and peace of mind. In today's episode of Wholeness Wednesdays, we're uncovering practical strategies to take control of your finances and reduce stress. Stay tuned to learn how small changes can lead to significant improvements in your financial well being.
Good morning, or good afternoon, or maybe it's evening. It doesn't really matter what time it is, and it doesn't even matter where you are. We want to welcome you to Wholeness Wednesdays. So grab a cup of coffee or tea and join our host, Beatrice Hutchison, as we explore and experience our journey to complete wholeness.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Completely Whole's Wholeness Wednesdays. And I am your host, Beatrice Hutchison. And today we are here again on this channel to talk about wholeness in every area of life. We talk about living balanced and fulfilled lives. And so the topic we'll be discussing today is one that could really impact our mental well-being as well as our health, right? We talk about how the different pillars kind of overlap, right? So this is a topic that could really impact us in so many different ways. So, today we will be talking about financial stress. And more specifically, we're going to be diving deep into how to manage our money to reduce stress and anxiety. And so, I hope you have your pen, I hope you have your paper, so that you are ready to take some notes because we are ready to dive into this topic, right? We're ready to release some stress. I hope you're ready. I am as well. All right. So, the first thing I want us to talk about is first understanding what financial anxiety is, right? And so, is that even a thing? And it's not a topic that may have heard of before, but financial anxiety is definitely a thing. And so, it's a money related anxiety, right? And it's a common experience. But with the right strategies and the right practical steps, you can control your finances and alleviate the burden that you are experiencing with your finances, right? And so let's talk about that. What is financial anxiety? And so it often stems from an uncertainty or perceived lack of control over one's financial situation, right? And so we become stressed because of what we're dealing with and just the uncertainty around it. So this stress can manifest in various ways, including constant worry about your expenses, fear of unexpected financial emergencies, right? Or even avoidance of financial matters altogether. And we see this with like creditors calling. You don't pick up your phone, right? Because you just don't want to deal with it at all. You know, a bill has come in. If I ignore it, then it'll go away, right? So it can also be complete avoidance of financial matters altogether. But the most important thing and what we want to identify first is make sure that you identify the feelings that you experience around your financial situation, right? So the first step is to recognize the feelings that you feel around these types of situations. And that's the first step to be able to manage them effectively. And so that's what we want to talk about today. So now that you know, financial anxiety is a thing, right? So if you're feeling like some changes in your body as a result of it, it's a real thing. And so we're not discounting it, but we're going to talk about how to manage it today. So let's talk about some practical steps to help manage this financial stress, right? So the first thing we want to do here is identify and challenge your money scripts. And so what are money scripts? Money scripts are unconscious beliefs about money that we develop during childhood, right? So as you know, in school, yes, we may have gone to economics, but they didn't really teach us about how money works. And then depending on the family that we were reared in, everyone may have had their different beliefs on how money works and things that pertain to financial matters. And so you may have grown up in a home where they talked about money. Maybe not in a positive way, maybe some in a positive way, right? But the way that we grew up, or the what we learned about money, has developed an unconscious belief within us concerning what we think about money. And so these common scripts can include notions like money is the root of all evil, or money will solve all problems, right? The Bible does say that money answers all things, but depending on how you grew up, that will kind of dictate how you believe about money. And so you want to reflect on your own money beliefs, right? So you want to also assess how they influence your financial behaviors, right? And so if you're one that believes that money is the root to all evil, right? And so it's actually, the Bible actually says the love of money, right? But if you believe that money is the root to all evil, then you'll stay away from it, right? So you won't try to learn about it. You won't try to learn how to better manage it because you believe that it's evil, right? So you want to think about those thoughts that you think concerning money. And then you want to challenge and reframe those negative scripts, right? So those are the narratives. Scripts are those narratives. And so you want to reframe them, right? So that it could lead to a better positive outcome. So you want to be able to reframe them, right? Take it from the negative and find out the truth about money, right? And also, we're going to talk a little bit later, give you some scriptures as well. But you want to think about what money is, and learn the truth about it, right? So that you can move from the negative and develop that growth and abundant mindset when now you are believing positive things about money, right? So that is what we want to do. Next, I want to talk to you about implementing a technique. It's called the 5 4 3 2 1 technique. And I know a couple of weeks ago we talked about something similar to this in dealing with just overall anxiety, but this one is more specific to dealing with some of these money matters. And so the first one want to talk to you about. So under the 5 4 3 2 1 technique, this is a grounding exercise that can help you reduce financial anxiety by focusing on tangible aspects of your finances. And so, if you recall, the last time we talked about a 5 4 3 2 1 technique, we talked about, 5 things you can see, 4 things, right? So, this one is a little different. As I stated, it's more specific to your financial situation. And so, the first thing you want to do, right? So, 5 4 3 2 1. You want to, number 5 is that you want to list 5 essential money expenses, right? So you want to highlight those things: rent, utility, groceries, gas, whatever it is for you, insurance, right? So you want to list out 5 essential money expenses, right? So those things that you absolutely have to do, right? Not the wants, but the needs. And then 4 is that we want to identify which of the 4 money scripts, right, that resonates with us. And so, as I mentioned, depending on how you were reared, that will determine how you actually think about money. And so that those are those scripts, those narratives, right? So you want to think about, there are 4 different types, and so we want to talk about what each of those are. So it could be money avoidance, money worship, money status, or money vigilance, right? So you want to think about, identify which of these 4 scripts resonate the most with you, right? So I'm going to tell you just briefly about what each of those means, just so that you get an understanding of what it is. But money avoidance is a behavioral pattern where individuals deliberately evade financial matters, right? As I mentioned about not picking up the call to the creditors. But they do this due to negative emotions such as fear and guilt or discomfort associated with money. And so this avoidance can manifest in various ways, including neglecting to check account balances, postponing bill payments, resisting budgeting, or refraining from financial planning, just not wanting to deal with it at all. But such behaviors often stem from deeply ingrained beliefs, as I've been talking about money, and they're inherently negative, and or they don't, or people may feel that they don't really qualify, or they don't deserve to be financially free or have financial success. And so it leaves you in this place of feeling negative about yourself. And so it's important that you identify which belief resonates with you so you know how to address it, right? And so these money scripts, they're typically formed during childhood, as I mentioned, right? And even some of our experiences as we move throughout our adult life. But before we actually come to an understanding of what money really is and how it really works, right? Because it is a tool and we don't always see it that way. But when we're talking about addressing money avoidance, it involves recognizing these underlying beliefs and actively engaging in financial management practices, right? So, all the things that you're avoiding doing, you put those things into practice. And so, by confronting the things, right? Confronting these beliefs and reshaping those negative perceptions about money, individuals can develop healthier financial habits. And it also, in turns, help you to reduce anxiety and work towards financial stability and maybe even financial freedom. And so now let's talk about the next type of script that we may have, right? And that's money worship. And so money worship is a financial behavior characterized by the belief that acquiring more money will inherently lead to greater happiness and life satisfaction. So individuals exhibiting this behavior often obsess, that's the key word, obsess, over accumulating wealth, operating under the assumption that money is the key to solving their problems and achieving progress in life. And without it, they're not successful. So, despite their efforts, they may feel that they never have enough money to meet their needs or their desires. And so, this preoccupation with the money can lead to detrimental actions such as irresponsible spending, excessive risk taking, or neglecting personal relationships and well-being in pursuit of wealth, right? So they're just obsessed with it and just overly focused on making more money. And so now to address money worship, it involves recognizing these patterns and developing a healthier relationship with money, right? Focusing on financial well-being rather than accumulation, right? You want to think of the health of your money and not how much you're able to accumulate. Next, let's talk about money status. That is the next one, the next script I want to talk to you about. And so, money status is a financial belief system where individuals equate their self worth with their net worth, right? Feeling validated only when displaying wealth or achieving financial success. And so this mindset can lead to overspending and financial instability, right? This is here where you see the keeping up with the Joneses, you hear that phrase. But they are in a pursuit of status, which often outweighs practical financial considerations, right? So, not exercising any wisdom here. But to address this, you have to recognize and address the belief head on, right? It's crucial to develop a healthier relationship with money and to ensure long term financial well being. So we have to address it. Now, the next one that I want to talk to you about, the last script, is called money vigilance. And so, money vigilance is a financial belief system characterized by a cautious and watchful approach to money management. So, individuals with this mindset prioritize saving, overspending, often adhering to principles such as money should be saved, not spent, right? So, that's the mentality there. And they tend to be discreet about their financial status, believing it's inappropriate to discuss finances openly. So while this prudent approach can lead to financial security, excessive wariness may prevent them from enjoying the benefits and experiences that money can provide. And so with the money vigilance, you want to balance the vigilance, right? With mindful spending. It's essential to do this to ensure that financial caution doesn't hinder one's overall quality of life, right? That you still want to enjoy what you work hard for. All right, so those are the scripts. So that was number 4, right? So All right, so now let's talk about number three. Recall three financial lessons that you've learned from past experiences, right? So five, four. Now we're at three. Recall three financial lessons you've learned from past experiences. Number two is that you want to acknowledge two financial achievements that you're proud of, right? Something you have been able to accomplish. And then one, set one realistic financial goal to work toward, right? So you want to think about identifying whatever the goal is. You want to put some steps in place to work towards it. So this method helps to shift your focus from anxiety to actionable financial management. All right,
Okay.
so now the next section I'd like to talk to you about is set achievable budgeting goals. So here you want to establish budgeting objectives that are attainable, right? Something that makes sense, something that you can definitely reach, right? So this will allow you to gradually improve your financial situation without feeling deprived, right? So this is something that's attainable, and then later on you can move the bar. But as you meet these goals, incrementally you adjust them to continue progressing, right? So as I mentioned, in the future, you push the bar, push the needle a little bit, and then, continue to work towards the further goal, right? To continue to have progress and to also build momentum. So tracking your achievements and rewarding yourself for milestones can reinforce those positive behaviors, right? So the more you do it, the more you'll be able to promote those behaviors in the future. Next, let's talk about developing financial literacy. So it's very, very important that you educate yourself on financial matters to demystify complex topics and to reduce the anxiety that you may be experiencing. This can involve reading books, attending workshops, or consulting financial advisors. But it's important that you build your knowledge and your truth around what money really is and money matters. Increased knowledge fosters confidence in making informed financial decisions. So it's important that you do that. Next, I'd like to talk to you about practicing self compassion, right? You've heard me talk about it in the past. I always talk about show yourself some grace, right? So you want to acknowledge that financial stress is a common experience, right? And that it's okay to seek help if you need to, right? It's okay to address, because stress does have a physical effect on your body. So you want to definitely, repel it at all by all means. But you want to think about your past experiences, how they've shaped your relationship with money, and approach yourself with kindness as you work towards financial well-being, right? So it's okay, like what you believe, is going to take some time for you to be able to change that mindset. So it's quite all right. Give yourself that grace as you learn and as you progress. Next, I just want to give you some biblical wisdom around anxiety, right, in any area. Philippians 4, verses 6 through 7 says, do not be anxious about anything, right? The NIV version. But in every situation, by prayer and petition with thanksgiving, present your request to God, and the peace of God, which transcends all understanding, will guard and keep your hearts and your minds in Christ Jesus. And so this is something that could really encourage us, because when we become anxious, it's good to remind ourselves that if we focus on Christ, then he will keep our hearts and our minds. Matthew 6, verses 31 through 34 says, therefore, do not be anxious, saying, what shall we eat? Or what shall we drink? Or what shall we wear? Right? And so just kind of moving forward into the 33rd verse, but it says, but seek ye first the kingdom of God and all of his righteousness, and all of these things will be added unto you, right? So the point here is that don't be overly concerned about what's going to happen. Yes, you do the right things. You become good stewards of your money and put the right things in place, right? To make money. But ultimately, you want to lean and depend on God, because he is the one that will take care of you. And so First Peter 5 and 7 says, cast all your anxiety, cast all your cares on him, because he cares for you. And so it's very important that you understand here that although we are talking about practical steps on what we need to do, to be able to make sure we have the right practices in place, the right belief system around money. But we also want to understand that it is God's good pleasure to give us the keys to the kingdom. God doesn't want us to be without anything. He doesn't want us to be in lack. Think about the birds, right? Think about the lilies of the field. Everything is provided for, right? God has made provision for everything, right? And so for us, he will give us everything that we need, right? And so definitely we want to be before him with our petitions, but we want to lean and depend on him and trust him that he is going to make the way for us. And just some final thoughts to just share with you. So remember, managing financial stress is a journey. It involves understanding your financial behaviors, right? Reflecting on those behaviors and understanding maybe where they came from, right? But then also setting realistic goals and seeking support when needed. And don't forget, more importantly, to trust in God to meet your needs. And so, by implementing these strategies, you can take proactive steps toward financial stability and reduce the anxiety that's associated with money matters. Remember that achieving financial peace is a gradual process, much like all that we talk about here, right, on our journey to wholeness. It is a gradual process. And so always remind yourself that every small step counts toward a more secure and stress free future. Every small step leads us to the outcome that we are searching for. So be patient with yourselves and take one step at a time. And so we begin doing call to actions. And so I would like to present you with one in relation to the topic that we discussed tonight. So if you found this episode helpful, please do share it with someone else that may find use for it. Maybe some of the strategies that we talked about can be helpful to someone else. Of course, you want to make sure that you subscribe, all of that, so that the Wholeness Wednesdays information gets out to those that need to hear it. And so certainly we are sharing information about having a more balanced life, right? In all areas of our lives, becoming whole, completely whole. And so as we are moving along throughout this week, right? So, of course, not tonight, right? But tomorrow, I want you to take some time and really reflect upon your belief system, right? Think about the things that you believe, why you believe them, and then also seek out some truths as to where it pertains to money concerning that negative thought that you have or that wrong thinking that you have concerning your, remember we talked about the money script. So whatever your money script is, those are negative belief systems, right? So you want to make sure you find the truth so that you move away from the negative thinking, right? And that you move towards the positive thinking, right? The more abundant and growth mindset. And so you want to identify those things, right? So this is my challenge for you, our call to action this week. Identify those things, right? Identify your script, identify the truth concerning it, right? So, and then move away from the negative thought and then more towards the positive thoughts. And then also, we want to make sure that some of the other techniques that we talked about also implement those. Here we always talk about being doers and not just hearers only, right? So we wanted to put into practice those things that we talked about. And certainly, don't wait until next week, because you can say, oh yeah, I'll do it next week, but then next week doesn't come, right? We get distracted, life is busy, so we don't often come back to it, right? And so what use is it if you just hear it and you don't apply it to your life so that it can really help? And so I want you to definitely go back, think about those things, identify them, right? Even as early as tomorrow, even tonight, if you have some free time, start to reflect upon those things. And then also some of the other strategies, right? We talked about the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, and we talked about some other things that could help, right? Some other strategies. So also think about those things as you are moving throughout this week. So you want to definitely start to think about that, and you want to shift your mindset, right? Think about ways to that financial literacy that we talked about, ways to expand your knowledge about money, right? Because once you understand the truth about money, then that can help you do away with those old mindsets. And so that's what we're after, and that's what we're working towards, right? And so understand that by implementing these strategies, it helps you to take control of your finances. And that's what we want for you here. We want to reduce the stress, right? And we want to pave the way towards a more secure and fulfilling life, right? We want to have a whole life. We don't want to be broken in any area, especially not our finances, because then what happens is that we experience the stress and the anxiety, right? It releases cortisol and it starts to wreak havoc on our bodies, right? We end up with hypertension and all types of issues in our bodies and our muscles, and I mean just all types of issues that we don't need to deal with if we can just grab a hold to some of those things that stress us out and really just kind of shift our mindset concerning it so that we're not overtaken by the anxiety. And then the scriptures that we also shared, make sure that you go back, and you may need to repeat those things to yourself. You may need to develop some affirmations that you could also say, right? Because you need to understand that you are worthy of being successful financially, right? And so you're not evil if you want money, right? But we talked about some of the negative things, right? The negative scripts where we could become obsessed and all of that. But the Bible does say that money answers all things, right? And so it is God that gives us the power to get wealth, right? And so if we lean into God and we trust Him and we seek Him about it, then He will give us a way of escape, right? He'll give us strategy. And so trust me, as sure as you got into this difficult financial situation, as sure as you got in, right, there's also a way out. There's always a way of escape. And so you may need to seek God on what is that way of escape, right? Or you may need to seek Him about a strategy, right? Give me a strategy to help me get out of this, right? And so as you're working on being a better steward, right, paying your tithes, giving your offerings, all of those things, but you want to make sure that you seek Him on strategy, right? And He'll give you strategies. He'll give you inventions and witty ideas and things that could help you to bring in additional streams of income that could help you to get out of this financial bind or situation that you may be in. And so know that God wants us to be above only and not beneath, that He wants us to be lenders and not borrowers, right? And so God's plans and His intentions for us are great. He wants so much for us to not, He doesn't, it's not a godly thing for us to be in poverty. I know many people believe that. But Christ, when He walked the earth, was not in poverty. He was not poverty stricken, right? And so it's important that you understand what money is, right? So that we don't abuse it or that we don't have the wrong intentions towards it, but it is a tool. And we need to educate ourselves on how to better manage and use the tool, right? And so we definitely also want to just trust God, knowing that He is going to meet every need, right? Everything that you need. We read the scripture about not worrying about what you shall wear, what you shall eat. Does that mean that you don't work for it, right? Or that you don't put things in place to be better stewards? No, that doesn't mean that, but it means that you should not be overly worried. You should not be overtaken in anxiety and stress because you're worried about what you're dealing with, right? So definitely seek Him, right? And so ask Him for strategy. And it may be that He may give you a brand new strategy, or He may give you strategy on something that you're already doing, right? That you need to prosper, and He can give you that strategy too. Remember, there is a way of escape, and be encouraged because there is a coming out, right? It's not always night, but day, morning always comes, right? And so be reminded of that. And so as you are working throughout this challenge, right, in the week or this call to action, as you are experiencing different things, different feelings, becoming aware of how you may feel about some things, shifting your mindsets, whatever it is, please do drop a line. Let's keep the conversation going. You can email me at bhutch at completelywhole, the number 1.com, or you can just drop it in the comments and just let us know how it's going for you. You can also share any additional tips, maybe some ideas or things that have worked for you in the past. Please do share that with us. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, and like the video, and so that it can get out to more people, so that they subscribe, so that you will be able to receive notification when we drop new content here, because we're talking about wholeness in every area of your life, achieving a balanced and healthy lifestyle overall, right? And so it's been wonderful being with you tonight. Again, I'm Beatrice Hutchinson, and your journey to complete wholeness starts here. And so, as we always do, as we end together, right? Because we believe there is power in our words, right? So we have the power to speak life into our dead situations, right? So we will always end with an affirmation. I believe that your words frame your world around you, right? So it's important to speak to it. So let us affirm together. Please repeat after me. I decree that my financial breakthrough starts now. And I declare that I will take control of my finances and will reduce anxiety in my life. My prayer for each of you is that you will receive healing and complete wholeness in every area of your life, especially in the area of finances, right? That's what we were talking about tonight. And so together, let's make 2025 a year of prosperity, a year that is stress-free. But let us make it a year of abundant living. And we can do that. And so until next time, take care of yourself, mind, body, and soul. And be free, be stress-free, be anxiety-free, be free, completely whole. So be free in every area of your life and be made whole.
We thank you for sharing this time with us here at Wholeness Wednesdays. Thank you for joining us to explore and experience this journey to complete wholeness. Please remember that we are only an email away. Your questions and input are welcome via bhutch@completelywhole1.com. See you next time here at Wholeness Wednesdays.